Well, we have a big update in a case that we covered last summer where a Newton, North Carolina police lieutenant was charged with shooting and killing an unarmed man named Camden Childers. Just at the end of last week, the lieutenant pled guilty to second-degree murder. Let's talk about it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. Now, if you're not familiar with the original video, essentially what happened was you had a young man named Camden Childers who was 21 years old. The police department in some other jurisdiction attempted, I think Conover, North Carolina, attempted to stop Camden Childers on a motorcycle for having no registration plate, and then that turned into a pursuit. So the charges by the time they got into the city of Newton were reckless driving and fleeing and, no registration and all that stuff. And the pursuit was said to have ended very close to a Walmart in Conover, North Carolina. So the officer who was in pursuit at the time that the pursuit came to an end was this Lieutenant Carlos Uribe. And when we first got the report, the initial indications were that there was a fight, a struggle of some sort that ensued. And the reporting was that Camden Childers had his hand up in surrender, was unarmed. Carlos Uribe kicked him in the chest and then shot him immediately afterwards and made some statement about that's what you get for going for an officer's gun. So I went through the sort of why that might lead to a charge of first-degree murder in that original coverage, because in my mind, it really hinged upon what the body cam showed. And because North Carolina is horribly non-transparent in the way that they consider whether or not a public is entitled to having information about the things that go on in their community, we don't know. We still haven't seen the body cam, and I even mentioned that in my coverage of the Shelby incident last week. But abruptly, sort of out of the blue, I get this email from a person that I've been talking to back and forth who's actually a law enforcement officer in that area. And the email was that Carlos Uribe has pled guilty to second-degree murder, and that made me wonder, why would he just plead guilty to second-degree murder? Now, the facts are so bad that I don't think that if everything that we do know, which is not very much, based on public records and what has been released, is true, then there really wasn't a legally defensible situation here for Carlos Uribe.
A former Newton police officer is facing prison time after pleading guilty to second-degree murder for a shooting. Carlos Uribe appeared before a Catawba County judge today. Investigators say the former police lieutenant killed 21-year-old Camden Childers after a motorcycle chase last June. State investigators say his patrol vehicle made contact with Childers' bike, knocking him to the ground. They determined Uribe kicked and shot Childers after he had already surrendered. Uribe's sentencing is set for September 8th.
But actually, the facts are even more damning than we originally thought, because we originally were told, and of course, this is the way that the police department, and they really, I'm glad the family is suing. I really hope this cost them millions of dollars, because they really framed this in a way that made it seem like Camden Childers was much more of a threat than he actually was. So let me bring up the original news report. I just want to show you this, the very first thing that came out. But before we do that, I need to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is Chapter. Now, if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you probably noticed that there is a recurring theme around the way that incentives matter, and you can avoid a lot of bad outcomes if you properly manage the incentive structure. And the Medicare system is really no exception to that rule. And while most folks assume they're comparing plans and making an informed decision, in reality, they're often bogged down by the overwhelming complexity of the system and being hit from every angle by confusing mailers and misleading advertisements and incomplete information, and agents who only want to show them the plans that pay the highest commissions. And that's why I'm proud to partner with Chapter. Chapter is the only national Medicare advisor that compares every Medicare plan available. And the way that they avoid bad incentive structures is to use honest, licensed, and most importantly, salaried advisors, which means they have no incentive to push a person towards one plan or another. Instead, they look at your doctors, your prescriptions, and your healthcare needs, and they try to help you find the plan that actually fits you. And if you're already on the best plan, well, they'll tell you that too. Last year alone, seniors who found new plans through Chapter saved on average $1,100 on healthcare costs. So if you're turning 65 or you're anywhere close to Medicare or trying to figure it out for a loved one, or you've already got something figured out and you're just wondering whether you could save any money, there's no need to guess or settle. Just pick up the phone and call Chapter at 424-389-2979. One conversation with a real person may make a big difference in your bottom line every month. And best of all, their support is completely free, and it usually takes less than 20 minutes for a consult. So call Chapter today and see what they can do for you. Again, the number is 424-389-2979. Now, back to the video. This was one of the very first news coverages of this incident. So let's take a look at that real quick. The headline itself, even, Newton police kill reckless driving suspect, department says. And so it says a 21-year-old accused of multiple traffic violations and fighting with officers died in a shooting by Newton police, officers confirmed. Then it said basically they tried to stop a motorcycle on Highway 70 for allegedly failing to display a registration plate, speeding and reckless driving. According to the police, the driver, later identified as Camden Childers of Stanley, did not stop and drove off at a high rate of speed into Conover. Officers said a pursuit ended on Northern Drive, northwest in Conover, with a crash between the motorcycle and a police car. And then it said a brief fight happened. And during that time, officers shot Childers, who later died at the hospital. Now, we now know that's not exactly what happened. So let me pull up now. The district attorney has put out a press release and go through what the district attorney has released for the public to know about this plea and what the facts and body cam ultimately would show. This is from the office of Scott Riley, which is the district attorney in that area. And it has Uribe's picture here, and it says former police officer pleads guilty to second-degree murder. A Newton Police Department lieutenant awaits sentencing after he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder during Catawba County Superior Court on Thursday, June 4th, 2026. But it goes through all the demographic stuff, but it says sentence was deferred until September 8th, which is pretty unusual. I don't understand that yet. We're going to get to that in a second. But it says Uribe was charged with murder after an investigation by the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation determined that he kicked and shot Childers after he surrendered and was no longer deemed a threat on the night of the incident. Investigation of the case showed that Childers had led law enforcement in other jurisdictions on 2 chases prior to Newton police officers engaging in an attempt to stop him. Childers rode his bike into a cul-de-sac near Walmart in Conover and reached a point where he could no longer get away from officers. Uribe pulled his patrol car into a position that made contact with the motorcycle, knocking it and its rider to the ground. Uribe's body camera footage captures the officer telling the victim to get on the ground, and Childers clearly has his hands up in surrender. The footage shows that Uribe approached Childers, then kicked him in the stomach. A gunshot is heard, and Childers says, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He shot me, he shot me, he shot me, he shot me. Uribe is heard on the body camera footage saying, you don't go for somebody's gun. The video shows no evidence that Childers had a gun or made an attempt to get a gun. Childers was taken to Catawba Valley Medical Center, but he was pronounced dead upon arrival. The autopsy findings showed that he died as a result of a single gunshot wound to the upper left chest. Now, here's what's strange to me. I reached out to the investigative reporter that has covered this to the extent that it was covered. He declined an interview, and that's fine. A lot of those guys have contracts where they can't do things like that. I understand. No big deal. But it's trivial to me why no one is reporting what's going on in this case. We never see a second-degree murder plea out of nowhere. And I have no clue why. The families filed a lawsuit back in October, and then I read an article by another outlet where the attorneys were on the record saying that the family was not able to speak on it until the sentencing. And then the sentencing, of course, is like several months away. And just all of it is very puzzling to me. I can't figure out why you would have such a egregious homicide tangled up with police misconduct and the crazy stuff we're seeing in 2026 now that the body cameras have started to do the thing we all knew they would do, which is shine a light on all of the police misconduct that's going on. And for some reason, there's no deference to public interest in this case, and I don't really understand it. Surely they didn't give him like some sort of a plea deal where they would give him less time, because I think, and I took the position in the original video, that if there is truly no evidence that Camden Childers had a gun, was in any sort of struggle with Uribe. Remember, the original reporting seemed like there was a struggle to get him under arrest. And it made it seem like, well, maybe there was a plausible way that he could have gone for somebody's gun during that period of time. And of course, I've talked a little bit to the family in the comments sections, and that's not what happened at all. And then the district attorney comes out and said there's no evidence of that. So that leads me to believe that Uribe had it in his mind that he was going to say something about him trying to get his gun because he thought that was a way that he could get away with actually shooting him. So the way it seems like it happened now, and I just want to pull up this little map because there's only one subdivision where there's a northern drive northwest, and I want to pull up this map and kind of walk through it. And it is, you can see there's a subdivision here very close to this Walmart. We can pull that up and see that there's the Walmart is right here, and then directly sort of across this Lyle Creek is this northern drive northwest. And here's your Walmart in Zelkova Court. That's the only Walmart location in Conover, North Carolina. And this is the only northern drive that could be described as being a cul-de-sac close to the Conover Walmart. And so if you look at the overhead picture of this, you see this is sort of a cul-de-sac here, and it's got houses all around. But right over here, just off the edge of that, is the end of Northern Drive, which is where this sort of comes to meet. So in my mind, I think a plausible, I guess, scenario or reenactment of how this shook out was that he potentially turned down here on Northern Drive, and then he made his way down to Kames Court, and he may have gone around this cul-de-sac, realized he couldn't get out of there, and then he may have tried to turn down here at the end, or it's possible that he didn't go into this cul-de-sac and he just got stuck down here in this little wooded area. As you can see, there's really no escape valve here because it runs into the creek. And so either he was going around this cul-de-sac, and by the time he gets turned around and starts to make his way back, the police are already here. But somewhere along the way, Uribe's cruiser crashes into him about here. And so I imagine that this entire incident ended here, where there aren't a lot of things to be seen. Now, we don't know whether any of these houses had Ring cameras. That's another thing. I don't know whether we certainly have Uribe's body cam, but the way that it was described by the district attorney made it seem like Uribe hit him and knocked him off the motorcycle and then ordered him to the ground, and he was surrendering, and there was no struggle. And so to me, it wouldn't make any sense to allow him to plead guilty to second-degree murder under this idea that he should get a reduced sentence if the evidence was that compelling. In fact, I think you could have potentially elevated the charges to first-degree murder or made it an aggravated murder based on the circumstances of potential premeditation, because it doesn't make any sense for that statement to come out of nowhere. The statement, "you don't go for someone's gun," seems like it's planted as a seed of justification. And then if there was no struggle that would be the predicate for that sort of a statement, then that means that he had to form it in his mind as he's trying to pursue this young man and decide he's going to make this statement, which means that he's already decided that he's going to shoot him. And so to me, this was not a case that, based on what we know, that should have resulted in a plea deal where there was an agreed upon sentence. But again, we've got a lawsuit pending. The only thing I can figure is that the family is trying to wrap up the civil lawsuit, and maybe they've agreed to just keep it wraps. I really don't know, but I wanted to update you guys and let you know that there is some good news. He did plead guilty. He is a convicted murderer, and on September 8th or somewhere around that date, we're going to find out what his sentence is. But it really should not be a short sentence. If you look at the sentencing grid for this type of thing in North Carolina, we're going to take a look here, and it really should be somewhere in the 20-year range for the sentencing grid. So it's probably not going to be mitigated under the circumstances. I can't imagine them giving a mitigated sentence here. And it may not be aggravated if he pled guilty. They may have just agreed not to try to get an aggravated sentence. Second-degree murder is a Class B1 felony, And so if it was mitigated, it should be 12 to 15 years. And then if it's aggravated, it should be 20 to 25 years. And then the presumptive, which is sort of like what most people get if you don't have mitigating factors or aggravating factors, is 192 months to 240 months. So that's 16 to 20 years. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. It'll be interesting to see what, if anything, comes out in the way of information as to why everybody's being so tight-lipped about it. But I think that this is very strange. I'm glad we got a conviction, but there's a lot of things. I have so many more questions than answered, because I can't imagine how it serves the public, or really how it serves the family's legal interest, by everybody agreeing to be quiet about it. I don't understand that, but I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the family and assume that they've got information that we don't have, and their attorneys are telling them, hey, let's just keep this under wraps. This is going to work out better if we're able to sort of complete all these negotiations. And I assume that's what happened. But I just wanted to give you an update and let you know that Carlos Uribe appears to be on his way to prison. There's no clear reporting as to whether or not he was taken into custody when he pled guilty. So it's just a really strange way of not telling anything to the public. And so I don't know. I'm hoping more information comes out. I'd like to have the family sit down and do an interview with me if, for whatever reason, they're able to do that after the sentencing. But we'll follow up and do an update on this when I find out exactly what's going on or why. But I just wanted to let you guys know that video got almost 300,000 views. I know there are a lot of people that were interested, invested in that story. So that is happy news that he's now a convicted murderer. But whether or not he's out there enjoying his freedom or what he's going to be sentenced to is really kind of a mystery. So I'll let you know when I know more, but I just wanted to bring it to your attention and give you an update with what we actually know now. That's all I have for this one, guys. Thanks for checking it out. I'd like to invite you to check us out on all the socials. I'll pull up a QR code here for you to scan with your phone. That'll take you to the Linktree site where you check us out on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Substack. I hope to see you on one of those platforms in the very near future. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel. Leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.